He's our man in the Big Apple. He's our man in the land of the free. I'm joined today by Danny Lopez, Director General of UKT&I, and also the Consul General here in the city of New York. Pleasure to see you.
And you.
Tell us about the job.
It's about helping British companies do more business over here in the US, and also helping US companies to do exactly the same thing in the UK.
I mean, I've been here for the last few days, and you get a sense that the Americans like us. I mean, is this one of the great plum postings, sort of like getting the British message over to local US audiences?
People want to do business with us across all sectors, but it's also cultural. I mean,
right.
You know, you see the amount of people. I think 30 million people woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast in 2011 to watch the royal wedding.
Is that the vision, though, of the UK? Though, is it a kind of beautiful museum in the minds of the States?
Clearly there is a bit of a fascination with, you know, the historical side and yeah, visiting historic royal palaces when you're on a trip to the UK. But then you've got the other side, US-based entrepreneurs who are going to Tech City, and actually New York-based entrepreneurs who tell me that they feel far more comfortable being in Tech City than they are going over to San Fran. And I mean, you look at New York and London and you think innovative, creative grittiness, if you like, that people really, really like. The reality is that we have the same values that, you know, kind of guide what we're doing day to day. And that then takes us to the business side. 1 million people wake up in the UK every morning, they're employed by US companies. 1 million people wake up every morning in this country, they're employed by British companies. We have $1 trillion invested in each other's economies.
So if you're a British company thinking about coming to the States, and you know, you want, obviously you would like them to pick up the phone to UKT&I, presumably, what should they be thinking about?
You know, the first thing I always say to people is that it's a huge country, and I find sometimes that British smaller companies think the US is waiting for me, the entire market is waiting for me, and I'm sure that doing business in the entire country is quite similar.
The ocean, That's
and actually, you know, as you know very well, East Coast versus West Coast, completely different. The key thing to remember is not to just jump over and, you know, tackle the market that instinctively felt right, but do a bit of homework first back in the UK. Talk to the experts, talk to people like us who have done this with, you know, hundreds of companies, and then navigate your way into entry points.
Have you sort of picked up some tips for success along the way in terms of what it typically takes to make it here in America?
Be more aggressive on the selling side.
Right.
And again, we've changed culturally as a country over the years, but when you come to this country, you realize that people are pretty aggressive when it comes to selling, you know, kind of in your face, and this is the product.
Is that a good thing, do you think, or is that just the way it is?
I think it's a product of just being a very competitive market. I think sometimes British companies struggle with that message of, I am the best in my field, you know, you absolutely have to choose me for reasons X, Y, and Z.
And I suppose, you know, this city oozes the competitive spirit. I mean, just you know, the biggest skyscraper has just overtaken Freedom Tower, hasn't it? Today, this very day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this whole idea of sort of getting to the top of the world, or being the biggest or the best, that drives a city like New York, I guess. Do you think that American dream is still something that motivates people, both in terms of coming over here and a sense of actually American companies going out and creating success stories around the world?
I think it does. I mean, I'm sure it's different to the American dream of 10, 20, 30 years ago. But if there's one thing this country has that it does really well, is celebrating success and having that very positive can-do attitude that will lead them to the next best thing. And I think that when you link that to what British companies are trying to achieve here in the US, you know, it's contagious. You really want to be a part of that. But I also think
does it change you, do you think? I mean, do the British entrepreneurs, do they get the sort of instant dose of sunshine and orange juice and vitamin C, and we're, you know, slightly more optimistic Brits than we are back in
You know, I was just going to say that I think one of the problems sometimes is that people think that that's what's happening over here, and in the UK that's not happening at all. You know, surely there are no entrepreneurs in the UK, and surely they don't have the spirit of can-do, positive enthusiasm that we have. And that, I think, is one of the key reasons why we need to remind people what is actually happening in the UK.
Right.
Because when we tell the story to audiences here about Tech City, for example, you know, 20 companies 5 years ago, 2,000 plus right now, fastest growing tech hub in Europe. But you also tell the stories of Cambridge, Oxford, you know, Belfast, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Birmingham, etc. The whole spirit, I think, of entrepreneurship in the UK is changing so much.
In terms of that bond, that relationship that we've been talking about between Britain and the States. How do you see that evolving?
We can't take it for granted. You know, they will continue looking south and they will continue looking to Asia more and more. And we have to be the ones that remind them that the UK in particular is a pole that they need to continue to be a part of.
Danny, you're a man with a great campaign, a great job, and I guess most importantly, a great view. Thank you very much for this afternoon. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
It's been great.